Hi, this is Dale from vhorizon.co.uk, and today I'm just going to give you a brief run through of Droplet Computing's containerization solution. Okay, let's start with a simple use case. I'm going to install Notepad++ into a container using the modern container, so that's the Windows 7 based container, not the Windows XP one. All containers are based on 32-bit operating systems, and as you see here, there's only three main components to our Windows installation. We've got the Droplet software itself, we have a license file, and we have the container. So we start off by installing the Droplet software. This is a very straightforward, pretty much a next finish. Okay, and we're done. So once that's done, as soon as we launch the application, it's going to ask us to specify the license file, accept a EULA, and then all we need to do is tell it which container we want to use. So let's launch it. And we're going to point it to our license file. And accept the EULA. Of course, I've read every word of that. Okay. So now we are ready to start our container. So if we click on Start, it will say which container do you want. So we want the one that's currently on my desktop. Now if you're using the Intel Haxum installer along with Droplet Computing, obviously the performance is going to be a lot better. I'm doing this inside of VM, so I'm just doing it without for now, so things aren't as quick as they really should be. Okay, now the container is up and running. We have a default container, so we've automatically got Notepad published to us as the de facto test. So we can launch that if we wish to. There we have Notepad in all its glory. Okay, so as an administrator, what we want to do is we want to install an application into this container. There's a couple of little things that we need to do first. First of all, we need to change the default Droplet administrator password, as the console is currently locked. We can't make any amendments outside of running the application and using it as you would a normal user. So click the little padlock up here and enter in the default Droplet password, which is in all their documentation. So once that's unlocked, we can click on the cog and choose password at the bottom, enter the same default password again, and then our new chosen password. Okay, now to install an application, all we need to do is click on the little plus sign down here and switch to our device file share. Now this is a folder within the user profile of the client machine. As you see here, it's under your app data roaming location shared, and all we need to do there is pop in our Notepad++ executable. That is then replicated into the container. And we can view the container file share by going to our plus sign again and pressing view container file share. Okay. Now to install the application is very simple, as you would do any other application. You just double click the installer. Okay, so once we've launched the application, we've made sure it looks okay. I mean, this is Notepad++, so that's about as exciting as it gets, but you can make any customizations you need to your application inside the container, get it ready for other people to use. And once you're happy with it, that is pretty much it. So for small applications like this, you can use the shared file. that I've just shown you, or you can also do a shared folder, an actual folder share, and UNC to that from outside the container. The documentation on Droplet is pretty good on that one, so it'll explain how you can do that. But for now, I'm going to clean up after me, so I'm just going to delete the file in the share. Lovely, and they are both gone. Okay, so now we have Notepad++ working. Seeing what it needs to do. Next thing we need to do is publish the application to add it to that initial home screen. So if we click on our little plus sign down here, and we can click on Show Apps. What we can do here is now click the plus sign again to add a new application. And we just type in the basic details here. Okay, lovely. And further on, if you've got an icon file, you can input an icon into here. We're going to bother with that for now, and then finish. Okay, so once the application is published, we can launch it to make sure that it launches. There we go, and it works just fine. Excellent. Okay. So for the main configuration, that's really the end of it. Once you've installed the application, you can then lock up your administrator again and then power the container off. So when you shut down the container, the application will automatically exit. Now it's worth noting that within your roaming app data location, you've got this Droplet folder here, which, as well as holding the shared folder where you can put your applications or your files that you want to move in and out of the container, there's also the settings files here that are part of the files that you need to transport to other client devices to enable the container to work correctly. So for example, here we've got the apps.json file that we can look at in Notepad++, and that will show us what applications we've got published, etc. So we've got our new one here, Notepad++, that we've published. So that needs to be ported. Additionally, we have the settings.json file, which handles the sizing of the container. So open that Notepad++, make it a little bit more readable. There we go. So at the moment I haven't changed any of the defaults that I was given, so it tells it which path to use, the size of the CPU core and all that kind of stuff. And in here also are firewall rules and shares. Okay, and finally there's this credential file here, which whilst it is encrypted, stores the password for the administrator account. So to make any changes to the sizing of the virtual machine, all you need to do is open up the application and click on your cog. Here, users as well as administrators can set the size of the amount of memory that the container utilizes and the CPU cores, whether you've got hardware acceleration, which is the bit that requires Haxum, and then obviously got the image files and your shared folder locations there. Okay, if you want to change firewall rules, only administrators have the capability to do that. So if we push in our password again, you now get this other little dialog box up here. So you click on that, and you have the capability to either by default allow all network traffic in and out, or you can deny it and then add specific records for wherever it is you need the application to go to, and then accept that, and then close, and then that will be reflected, as I say, in the settings JSON file. Okay, once that's done, there's really not too much more to it than that. All we need to do is get a copy of the container file and those other files, and we'll port them across to our other machine and make sure that functions. Okay, so now we've hopped over to my Linux Mint installation. No real reason for choosing this, I just have used it historically in the past, so it's kind of nice. But anyway, so I've pre-installed Droplet Container software and nothing else so far. It's just a Debian package, so installed in any way that you normally install your Debian package for your distribution of choice. So if we launch the container, it's going to ask us the very similar questions. So it says no valid license. Let's select our license file, which I've put on my desktop in the folder. Okay, we've got the same end user license agreement. Lovely. Okay, so now we've got our familiar start container. We're just going to select the container that we wish to use, which again is in the same folder I've just moved across. And again, the same things applies to this. I'm using a virtual machine to run Linux Mint, so the performance will be slightly different. However, the process is the same. Okay. So once we have confirmed that the Droplet container launches, all we need to do now is, if we shut it down again, okay, once the Droplet container is launched, you'll see there we've got the default notepad, despite using the customized container that we've previously configured. So all we need to do is just shut it down again, and on our administrative machine we're just going to copy the JSON files across and we should be good to go. So now in Linux, at least my version that I've got here for Linux Mint, we've got our home directory, we've got my username, and we've got some hidden files here. So if we show the hidden files, we've got a config folder. So go into the .config folder, then into Droplet. Here you'll see very similarly laid out to how it is in the Windows variant. So all I need to do is copy the files that we took. So we've got the apps.json file, and the credentials file, and the settings file. So that's copying the admin password for the containerization software, the virtual machine sizing and firewalling requirements, and also the application publishing settings. So now if we launch Droplet Container again, we should now find, after a second or two, that we have the correct applications available to us. Right, so our container has launched. As you can see here, we've got our Notepad++ available, and we should be able to launch it. So we now have our legacy Windows application running in a Linux operating system. So that's a quick overview of the Droplet Computing Containerization software. It's a good little tool to have in an organization's arsenal, as it adds portability to these older applications, and also assists you in getting these applications off the internal infrastructure and securing them within a container. If you'd like to know more, please visit the Droplet Computing website. Thanks very much.